Hey guys, thanks for joining us for The Pursuit. I'm here with Pastor Kivett, and we're ready to kick off our time together here at The Pursuit. As always, we start off with an icebreaker, and since you're the guest, I'll let you draw the question out of the jar.
Yeah. Come on, good one. Let's get a good one here. All right, here we go. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. But part of the reason this one's so good is because I'm sitting with the person that, even though he's not a part of my family, he's the first person I thought of.
Oh, no.
All right, here it is.
That can't be good.
Tell about the person in your family who has the weirdest laugh. And the first person I thought about is sitting right here next to me.
Oh, man.
But you have to go first. And
Yeah.
then I'll go with somebody
Oh,
else.
my goodness. The weirdest laugh. Person in my family. I'm trying to think. Nobody in my family. I'm going to have to go from Sid's family, and this is going to get weird.
Careful.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
She's got a big family, though. A lot of brothers and sisters.
Yeah. So there's a lot of anonymity there. If I can not get too specific.
Right.
Yeah, there's like the yelling laughter, the yelling laugher, however you want to call that. That it's not really laughing, it's just yelling.
Yeah.
And then throwing in some laughter at the end. There's definitely one of those.
Yeah.
And that's very, very annoying. There are family gatherings and stuff, and you know it's coming. And I will tell you this, in trying to decide, like in trying to think of what I wanted in a wife, one of the things was they could not have an annoying laugh, because that would bother me forever.
Right.
Yeah. So Sydney does not have the annoying laugh.
Okay.
We can get that out there,
Okay.
but yeah, they're definitely.
Well, I'll tell you two things. First of all, here's why I picked him, even though he's not a family member. I'll just go ahead and throw him under the bus here.
Yeah.
We can be in the office, and there will be absolute silence after somebody said something funny, but it's absolute silence for several seconds, and then all of a sudden, it's a uproarious laughter. And it's always from this guy, okay? But then I think about one of my brothers, and I won't say which one of my brothers, but first of all, he ends every single text message with a LOL. It doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
How was work last night? It was pretty bad, LOL. It doesn't matter what it is, it's always LOL. But the same brother has this like, kind of laugh. It's just annoying. It's weird, it's annoying. Anyway.
Oh man, that's really good.
So, there we go.
All right, without trying to cause a great schism in your family, try to think of,
Schism?
that's the right word, right?
Sure.
All right, we'll reference Webster's after this, but go and figure out for yourself and your group, whoever you're with, just talk about some of the annoying laughter in your family, who that might be.
Welcome back, and we hope that was entertaining for you. We actually got really curious about the word schism, and Harper looked it up on his phone, and here's what schism means.
Thank you, Siri. It says division between people, usually belonging to an organization, movement, or religious denomination. So
I guess family kind of falls in that.
yeah, I would say so. I'm the wordsmith of the staff. We all know
yeah.
this.
Let's move on to spiritual things. All right. Well, today we talked about, in church, we talked about from Ephesians chapter 5, verses 1 through 14, this idea of walking in the light and imitating God by walking in the light. And we have just a very simple outline that was used. It was really no hint of wickedness, let there be thanksgiving, and then this idea of enlightened and enlightening. So I hope you were able to see it. We're going to pull that apart just a little bit here. And I'll tell you, this was one of those sermons that I really, really enjoyed putting together and had a lot of fun just diving in deep with it. And we're going to focus here for the first part on what this no hint of wickedness looks like. So what stood out to you?
So I think even from the beginning of how you started, you kind of talked about the difference between religion and the gospel, and how religion says you have to obey so you can be accepted, and then with the gospel it kind of flips that and says, no, you're accepted not because of what you have done. In fact, it's in spite of what you've done, but because of what Jesus has done for you. And therefore, it's almost like because of this, again, as we saw in Ephesians, if I reference it, I'm going to get it wrong. Is it 3, where you were saved for good works, basically going into that.
Ephesians 4, yeah.
4. Okay, so going into 4. So yeah, talking about that, basically, it's not obeying to be accepted, but you're accepted, therefore there should be some obedience. And so looking at that, and even kind of the story you started off with.
The chicken running
the
down
chicken,
the road.
the chicken Christian. Yeah.
Yes.
The chicken on a mission. Those two things stuck, obviously. But yeah, you're running, you're turning from something, that idea of repentance, even just that imagery within that story of running from something and towards something. And so as we, in our Christian walk, as we repent, it's that idea of turning to God, and then turning to God, you turn from your sin, what you were running after, what you were pursuing.
So let's stick with the running from something for a minute.
Yeah.
No hint of wickedness was the term that was used there. In fact, NIV is very clear, not even a hint. The ESV uses the phrase, where's it at here? Must not even be named among you. So let's just actually stop here. And the Bible talks about in other points what we're to stay away from, and what this idea of not even a hint of wickedness, what it looks like. And so once you spend some time, either by yourself or with your group, working through this idea of what does no hint of wickedness look like, and what are some examples in the Bible that you can think of, that you can bring up and think through a little bit.
So as we worked through and kind of looked at the list of things there that says, isn't supposed to even be named among you, there should be no hint of wickedness among you. There's the list of immorality and impurity, greed, obscenity, foolish talk, coarse joking. And then it kind of comes to the end of that, and it says, instead of this, then let there be thanksgiving. Right. Instead of all these things, this is what should be true among you. And there should be thanksgiving. And you kind of talked about this for yourself, thinking of, okay, this is kind of an odd place to say, let there be thanksgiving instead of these things, because you don't usually think of those as direct opposites. Right.
Like I could see Paul saying, hey, instead let there be holiness, or let there be righteousness, or let there be something beyond thanksgiving. But then when I really got to thinking about it, I realized, wait, thanksgiving is an action. It's the giving of thanks. It's the action of thanking. And instead of taking part in these selfish acts of wickedness, we are flipping that up. And as a believer, we are changing our lifestyle to where now we are giving thanks, actively giving thanks. And this is a really good thing for us to kind of stop and spend some time processing here for just a little bit about this idea of thanksgiving and why it's so powerful. How you've seen it played out in your life. So what are some examples that you can share? Hey, I could have done this, but instead I chose to give thanks, and here's how it turned out. So that would be a great thing for you to talk through with your group, or just to maybe write down on a notepad if you're by yourself working through this video.
All right, so we focused on those first few verses there and really focusing on the let no wickedness be among you, and then let there be thanksgiving instead. But then there's a long passage after that. We didn't really get into all the details of that, but you kind of gave us a big 30,000-foot view of it and kind of summed it up that we are enlightened, or we are to be enlightened and enlightening because we are children of light. Right. And so kind of calling us out of, and I like how you distinguished there of, it's not that we were in darkness. It actually says we were darkness, and now we are not in light, but we are light.
That's right. So this past week I was with a retired pastor here in town, and we were sitting and just talking, and I told him what I was preaching on this Sunday, and he said, "Oh man," he said, "that reminds me of something that happened years ago." And when he and his wife were young, he was in seminary. He was working through. He said we didn't have much money, but she got this awesome job. She was making a lot of money at this job. She's really good with numbers. So she was the accountant of sorts, or the bookkeeper for this organization. But after a while, she noticed that the owner of the organization started coming in, and he would say, okay, go to the bank and get such and such amount of money in cash and bring it back. And so she would do it, and she would get him the cash, and then he would start walking in with these great big bottles of liquor, and he would actually wrap the top of it in that cash. And what he was doing was he was trying to bribe government employees to try to get their work. So they would get contracts from government employees just because of that.
Wow.
Well, she knew that this wasn't right, and legally it was wrong. But then there came the point where they were going to be audited, and so this owner came to her and handed her a stack of receipts and said, "Hide these. They don't need to be." He's kind of separated. Here's the ones I want them to see. Here's the ones I don't want them to see. And so she's at a loss. What in the world do I do with this? And so she went home to her husband, and she and her husband went and actually saw their pastor. And while they're telling the story, the pastor just takes his Bible and he opens it up, and he comes to Ephesians chapter 5, and he says this, verse 11, "Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them." So this couple's trying to figure out, how do we respond? What do we do? And that's the advice he gives. Take no part in the unfruitful works of darkness, but instead expose them. And she had her answer right there. So she goes in to her owner of the company, and she says, "Hey, listen, I'm not going to be able to do this, to hide these receipts. And if they ask questions about what we've been doing, I can't help it. I have to tell the truth." And he's shocked. And first it was shock, and then it was anger, and then the firing came. So she lost her job. But that was one of those times where she did what was right in exposing the darkness, even though it cost her job. But as they look back on it now, they realize, hey, this was absolutely what we were supposed to do. And even deeper than that, they don't know how her testimony and her example of doing what was right in that moment may have led him later in life to pursue the Lord in any way. And they don't have a clue what that might have looked like. But this idea of us being the light and exposing the darkness is, man, it's a vivid picture. It's a really vivid picture. And I think it'd be great for you to just spend some time talking through why it is so important for the light to expose the darkness. What are the reasons for that? Why should Christians live in the light and be the light? Because it's not just living in, it's being as well, and shining in this dark world.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us. We hope this was a great time for you, your group, whoever you were able to process through this with as we kind of dive in and digest what we've learned here in Ephesians 5 today. As always, you can go back and watch past episodes of The Pursuit on our YouTube channel.
You can also go back and watch past sermons, too, and catch up. If maybe you haven't caught up here in Ephesians, catch up with us there. You can subscribe to watch those as they come available. That would be a great thing for you to do, actually, if you haven't done so already.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
See you later.